10,000 XDC. This is an amount that to some people it might seem like a lot, to others it might not seem like enough at all. But what if I told you that 10,000 XDC could become extremely valuable in a very short amount of time? We're going to be talking about this. We're going to be addressing it. So sit back, relax. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hope by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. So right now, 10,000 XDC cost about $734. We'll just round it up to $735. That might seem like a lot of money to a lot of people. And I totally get it. I understand it. But if you accumulate this over the course of 3, 4, 5, 6 months, it's not that much. I strongly believe that people should hold more than, this amount. A lot of people will say, oh, 100 XDC or 1,000 XDC just to kind of clickbait you guys. But I do think that 10,000 should be a bare minimum for some of these projects, because I do think that the long-term view going forward, a lot of us, especially the retail sector, right? Like, we will be beating ourselves in the future saying, I wish I bought more. I wish I had more. Because right now, this space is not tied to fundamentals. I don't think that I need to tell you guys that, right? Because if it was, a lot of these projects would be soaring. They would be, extremely valuable. But we're still tied back to Bitcoin. We're still tied back to hype and speculation. The space is not even regulated. We're not even seeing full-on adoption. We're not even seeing full-on utilization of any of this tech yet. But we are getting there, right? One day at a time. But what I find crazy is that 10,000 XDC cost about $735 today. At one point in time, 10,000 XRP cost about the same. But today, 10,000 XRP cost over $21,000, almost $22,000. And more recently, it costs over $34,000 because XRP hit $3.40. And no, I don't think that it's going to stop there. I do think that 10,000 XRP will be worth over $100,000 very soon. Now, I say that confidently because I strongly believe in these utility-based projects, and I believe in the utility side of the space, the tech side of the space, if you will. But that's why I do think that 10,000 XDC for less than $1,000 is actually a major deal. Now, I'm going to be talking about why 10,000 XDC is something that everyone should be, looking at as being a goal in their portfolio. So let's actually dive on into that. Let's actually talk about it. Let's talk first initially about some of the big things happening around the XDC ecosystem. So I've been putting a spotlight on a lot of the big moves happening around XDC lately. And a big one that just actually launched was from Prime Numbers Labs. The first audited liquid staking is now live on the XDC network. This is huge. This is great to see. 6% APY rewards from the very first second. Now, this is what the app actually looks like. I think that this is a great looking, very solid, simple, user-facing staking platform. I think that this is great. Now, I can't speak on how efficient it is because I haven't even, tapped into this. I haven't used it at all. But already TVL over almost $4 million. I do think that this is great for the ecosystem. I think that it's great for XDC holders, especially, those that want to, earn rewards on their XDC. Now, of course, with staking, just be aware of the risk. We already know many of the horror stories about staking platforms and, people losing money and things like that. So just be aware of that. But, I love to see this. I think that this is great to see. And it's just one of many developments that we have witnessed around XDC that makes it extremely valuable, in my opinion. And it will be extremely valuable once people start to realize the potential behind XDC. Now, next up, Telecom Web3 Infrastructure and Solutions. This is from T-Mobile. This is their Web3 side. We have Something's Coming, a gathering of forces, enterprise grade, written in the future. Telecom and Friends 2.0, the first to enter the arena, watch closely, welcome XDC network. Now, we don't know exactly what this means. Honestly, when it comes to some of these posts like this, a lot of people will think that these partnerships are still very new. Like this just happened. But the thing is that this got announced back in July of 2024. This is when Deutsche Telekom joins RWA-focused XDC as infrastructure provider and digital asset push. This is because they not only announced that they will be operating a standby masternode for the XDC network, but they are also focused on expanding its Web3 services to the XDC network, which is focused on RWA, tokenization, trade finance, and even DePIN. Now, we didn't really get a full breakdown on exactly what they were fully focused on here with XDC, but it does show us that they have been supporting XDC for quite some time. This could be very exciting to see, what happens from this. Now, XDC Australia did quote this and said, "We love to see institutional grade interest on XDC network. Deutsche Telekom def not phoning this in. They've shown keen interest in all things Web3 since forever, last year committing to hosting an XDC masternode to contribute to the XDC 2.0 protocol security and smooth running." So yeah, listen, this is great to see. I want to know a little bit more behind this, but I suppose that we have to wait a little bit before we get a little bit more details on this. But why is this so significant? Well, it's because of the numbers behind, T-Mobile essentially. Because if we're thinking about the numbers here, 261 million mobile customers, 25 million fixed line connections, and 22 million broadband customers. This is one of the largest companies out there, and they're massive. They are a massive name, and they are taking the Web3 push very serious. And also, by the way, it didn't stop with just this post. They also highlighted XDC on May 2nd, saying, "Fact Friday, XDC Network. This Friday, we're diving into the latest news and developments of the XDC Network, a layer 1 blockchain tailored for global trade and enterprise use cases. Here's what you need to know. XDC Network achieves omnichain interoperability via layer 0 integration." This happened in April, right? They integrated layer 0 Core's universal messaging protocol. This was a great thing to actually enable seamless cross-chain communication. And I'm very excited about that integration. Outside of that, launch of tokenized money market fund in partnership with Archix. So this was also another one because a lot of people overlooked how big this was, but Archix has been working with some very prominent names in the space. Hedera, Ripple with XRP, Stellar, Algorand, and they're launching a tokenized version of 4 major money market funds from providers including Aberdeen, Fidelity International, BlackRock, and State Street with XDC. Then, of course, DeFi total value locked reached all-time high. As of early 2025, the total value locked in XDC Network's DeFi ecosystem reached a record high of 31.4 million, marking a significant increase from previous levels. Part of this growth is attributed to the expansion of XDC's DeFi protocols, including Phantom Finance, XSwap Protocol, and WeFi XYZ, reflecting increased adoption and investment in the network's decentralized finance offerings. And then, of course, we also got a XDC Web3preneur Act Invest program, which this was definitely a big one because it is a $125 million fund. And this is to really kind of bring in a lot of major developers and builders around Web3, crypto AI, and even blockchain startups in Asia. So again, a lot of big announcements happening already in 2025, and I do suspect that they are going to continue. Now, talking about that, we did get an update from Money 2020, and this was very interesting because this was a post from XDC Innovation Labs. Now, like I've said many times over, XDC is extremely overlooked. It's the number one reason why we can get 10,000 XDC for sub $1,000 because the market cap value of XDC is about 1.15 billion, fully diluted value about 2.78 billion. When we're thinking about that, compared to a lot of the other utility-based projects, that's pretty low. But then when we look at this image that XDC Innovation Labs posted, and we look on the left side under features, do you see what I see? Integrates with Swift Network. Interesting. Now, I've talked about this in the past, and I'll bring it back up because, again, this is going back to like 2023. XDC has very significant connections back to Swift. But the fact that they recently just launched XDC Cash on top of XDC payments, it's very interesting that they do have that integration with Swift, because we already know that Swift is starting to move towards, digital. They're trying to tap into DLT. They're trying to, tap into stablecoin initiatives and things like that. This XDC.cash website is very interesting because this is supporting all of those big moves. It's supporting the stablecoin movement. It's supporting the digital cash usage of, all of these prominent institutional players, because any institutional player can now tap into XDC.cash for any, payment use cases, cross-border payments. It could be stablecoin initiatives, for an example. Anything that they are trying to focus on when it comes to payments, this is their home, okay? And we even have the core products here: ISO 222 messaging for cross-border payments, cross-chain bridge, and even fiat on and off ramp. They already have, multiple currencies supported and payment methods across 80 plus countries. This is a massive platform already. But what's crazy about this is we go back to that image and we're thinking about the Swift network integration, and we're saying, all right, well, if it's already integrated with Swift network, that's a huge deal. That's one major step already taken. That's already ahead of majority of this space. But then I get reminded of my post back in 2023 when I said, wow, XDC is more bullish to me today than ever before. The ICC just announced a collaboration with Swift for creating a standard model API for guarantees and standby letters of credit. This is aimed at widespread implementation. Read some of the quotes regarding this initiative. Wow, specifically this one. As adoption of the standards accelerates, businesses will also benefit from improved security and liquidity in the guarantees space. This is part of Swift's continued collaboration with ICC and the community to create a future-ready digital trade ecosystem anchored in common standards and interoperability. Now look at what TradeFinix is doing and their overall objective, and also read what Atul said regarding trade finance. Now remember that this is XDC's co-founder, okay? Swift is currently piloting on this network, XDC, and this is through TradeFinix, by the way. The most suitable and enterprise-friendly public network for financial instruments, a USD $5 trillion per day market. The governing members can opt for a masternode of XinFin network, the underlying blockchain network, or opt for a hybrid council node. Hybrid nodes can combine R3 Corda Enterprise, Hyperledger Pursue Enterprise, or an Oracle Enterprise node with the XinFin masternode. I mean it when I say XDC is seriously one of the most overlooked giants in the space, and I continue to say that even today. And here we have the documents. This is ICC in collaboration with Swift. This is regarding the API for guarantees and standby letters of credit. This was back in August of 2023. Here we have a few quotes from, ICC players. They're talking about on the bottom there, the unified trade guarantee API standards, and how this is going to facilitate seamless and structured data exchanges, things like that. Just really kind of making things extremely efficient, but also, how this is going to accelerate things as well. Talking about the adoption phase. But also over here, we have, hi, we're TradeFinix, key objective. You can see the key objective on the right side, but then on the left side, you could see, what they're really kind of focused on here. You could also see the $5 trillion, global infrastructure deficit that they're trying to bridge here, and how, heavily focused on XDC this all is, because TradeFinix is fully built on the XDC network. But over here, we have from the team members, the co-founder and ecosystem development, Atul, Swift is currently piloting on this network. And it is because of the tech behind the actual network. This is why I keep focusing on what Swift is doing and how they're doing specific things. They're tapping into DLT, they're tapping into blockchain, and they're tapping into these networks that a lot of people are just not talking about. Now, I have to give a big shout out to Crypto Nerd D, because back in December, he recently made a post talking about how XDC and Swift have collaborated with the International Chamber of Commerce to develop a new corporate to bank guarantee API. This is pretty much an update on what I posted back in 2023. The new Swift and ICC APIs enable the industry to leverage ISO standards in the trade space for the first time. The resulting open API solution streamlines the corporate to bank processes involved in both guarantees and standby letters of credit, has a light footprint, and provides ISO 222 ready structured data. Banks, corporates, and platforms are currently taking part in a pilot to validate the effectiveness of this solution. 7 banks are already in the process of implementing C2B guarantee APIs, and 2 further trade platforms, Comgo and Surecom, are using the APIs to allow corporates to better interoperate with banks via their platforms. And yeah, this got announced back in December of just last year. Like, when we're thinking about what's actually going on here, it's crazy the connections that XDC actually has through things like the TFDI. I've talked about this on many occasions. The connections that XDC actually has through some of these group initiatives are so bullish. It's extremely bullish. And this is why I still say, even today, XDC is probably one of the most overlooked projects, and why you still can get 10,000 for sub $1,000. You know, again, I understand that this might not be an easy thing for a lot of people, but you know, I think that this is probably going to be one of the top giants in the space around the utility side. And when we're thinking about market cap, you know, I don't want to compare it to XRP because XRP is already valued at over $100 billion plus. But when we look at some of these additional networks in like the top 15, top 20, you know, they're valued in the 7s to like $10 billion plus area. Like, I do think that XDC is just as bullish as ADA. ADA is valued at $24 billion. That's an insane upside potential for something like XDC. And I also do think, you know, that we could hit those valuations. And 10,000 XDC, if we're hitting some of those market valuations, well, 10,000 XDC will be looking very pretty in that account compared to what it looks like today. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.